This is incredibly serious. We have some major news and a huge update in the story surrounding Donald Trump's connection to Jeffrey Epstein that could really blow the whole thing wide open. Now, as we speak right now, Donald Trump is trying to do everything in his power to distract you, me, and the entire American public away from the Epstein story. But I'm not going to stop talking about it. I'm not going to stop covering it. And if you appreciate that, make sure to drop a like on the video, comment down below some American flags, some hearts, whatever you want to say, and make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. It goes such an incredibly long way, and I greatly appreciate you. But without further ado, I don't want to waste any more time. I want to get into this exclusive article from the Daily Mail. They spoke to the ex-cellmate of Ghislaine Maxwell at the Tallahassee prison, of which she was just moved from to a low-level security camp in Texas. And according to this ex-cellmate, she heard Ghislaine Maxwell tell another inmate that she had dirt on Donald Trump. Wow. Now, this has been a real fear for the Trump administration that Ghislaine Maxwell has some information that could implicate Donald Trump in Epstein's crimes, and it seems like their fear is justified. So let's dive in here. The first time that Catherine Comolli laid eyes on Ghislaine Maxwell was when the convicted sex trafficker was about to enter the isolation unit at Tallahassee prison in the autumn of 2022. She was just standing there in an orange jumpsuit and orange flip-flops with handcuffs behind her back and a guard on both sides. She was looking down at the ground, tense and angry. I heard some female inmates shouting, "Here comes Maxwell. Here comes that big money B." I thought to myself, oh my God, there she is. What is she doing here in this hellhole? But Maxwell stayed cool, calm, and collected. They first saw each other in isolation shortly after Comolli arrived at Tallahassee. Maxwell had already been at the prison for a few months, but had to spend the night in the unit as punishment for talking to the media without permission. It was the only interview she ever did, and she got in trouble for it, says Comolli, referring to Maxwell's 2023 appearance on Talk TV's Jeremy Kyle Live, in which she said she wished she had never met Epstein in the first place. Comolli spent 15 days in isolation after being transferred from federal prison camp Mariana in Florida, where she had been found with a mobile phone. After completing the time, she was taken by guards to B South Dormitory and assigned a bunk near Maxwell. So this is not somebody that Maxwell came into contact once. It wasn't somebody that they spent time together for a day, a week, or even a month. They knew each other for quite some time, meeting for the first time in autumn of 2022. And then, of course, bunking together after. And this is Maxwell at the Tallahassee prison. This is Comolli, the ex-cellmate in question. And the article continues, and this is where it gets really juicy. Both women slept on their respective bunks. B South was a horseshoe-shaped room made up of sleeping cubes divided by shoulder-height concrete walls. There were 140 inmates in the dormitory. Each section had 2 bunk beds with lockers in the middle, but no privacy whatsoever. She said that Maxwell would normally just be reading on her bed while everybody else was doing something different. But here is the major part of the article I just referenced. Comolli says it was common knowledge among inmates that Maxwell didn't aim to serve her 20-year sentence and instead had hoped to get a pardon from then President Joe Biden in exchange for information about Donald Trump in the lead up to the 2024 election. Quote, "I heard her tell another inmate that she had dirt on Donald Trump and that it was going to get her a pardon from Biden." I guess Biden's camp just didn't want to go down that route. Of course they didn't. Biden would never do such a thing. He would never pardon someone like Ghislaine Maxwell just to get information on Donald Trump, a political opponent. That's something that Donald Trump would do. He would absolutely do that without batting an eye. But Joe Biden realized that, of course, Maxwell has to serve her sentence. She committed some heinous crimes. But it was common knowledge among inmates that Maxwell didn't want to serve her 20-year sentence and that she had information on Donald Trump. As I mentioned, a huge fear for the Trump administration, and this information that Ghislaine Maxwell had or claims to have, has been telling people that she has on Donald Trump, is probably why we're seeing this like secret deal being struck between Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell behind the scenes. Number one, Ghislaine Maxwell has been talking to the Department of Justice exclusively, one-on-one, with Todd Blanche, the number 2 at the DOJ, and of course, Donald Trump's former defense attorney. And according to some reports in this interview, she told the Department of Justice that Trump never did anything concerning around her, which is completely different from what she had been telling inmates in her prison in Tallahassee. But then, shortly after that interview with the Department of Justice, Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a low-level security camp in Texas where she gets a lot more perks. She gets to go outside between the hours of 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. It's a non-violent offender prison for the most part, which is really weird as to why Maxwell is there because, of course, she is a violent offender, and it's raised a lot of alarms for legal experts, prison experts across the board. For example, prison consultant Sam Mangle slammed Donald Trump's move of Ghislaine Maxwell to this low-level security camp in Texas, saying that it's a very difficult move to accomplish under any circumstances, indicating that somebody behind the scenes kind of had to basically do it, had to waive certain requirements for Ghislaine Maxwell to be able to go to this prison. Take a look at what he had to say, and we'll talk about it after.
Question, it is a much more difficult place to be for anyone, for any offender. And certainly given her charges and the length of her sentence, it made sense that she was designated to Tallahassee. Where she is now at Bryan is a minimum security camp. There are no cells. There are no guard towers. The inmates, and I did speak to a client there today who said she hadn't seen Ms. Maxwell yet, but they have pods. So there's maybe 2 or 3 girls in a pod. Women are allowed outside from 6 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. There is no controlled movement. There's much more in terms of activities to do. I understand there's even a yoga course that's taught there. So it is a diametrically different situation from where she came. I understand why they might have transferred her. There's probably, anybody that's cooperating for the government might have a target on their back, and it made sense to move her. Why she was moved to a camp, I don't know. And that is a very difficult move to accomplish under any circumstances.
Why is it difficult? What do you mean?
Somebody like Ms. Maxwell, from my understanding, had at least 2 management variables associated with her case. So a management variable is a policy the Bureau of Prisons has that said that if you have a sentence greater than 10 years, you can't go to a camp. If you have greater than 20 years, you might have to go to a medium-level security. If you have a charge of violence or any sexual offense, you're not typically eligible for a minimum security camp. The fact that she had at least 2 of these variables waived, one that she had more than 10 years remaining on her sentence, and certainly the charge itself, is very, very atypical. I've had clients with 1 or both of those charges, and getting a management variable waived for anyone within the Bureau of Prisons is next to impossible. To have 2 management variables waived, highly unusual.
Yeah, I mean, you're hearing it from this expert who knows more about this than anybody, your average person, certainly more than Donald Trump, who's saying that it is virtually impossible for somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell to be moved to a low-level security camp like she was in Texas. It's just incredibly strange. These different variables had to be waived. It's almost impossible for somebody like her with her conviction and her sentence to do this, yet she was. It seems like some kind of secret behind the scenes deal was struck because of what Maxwell might know about Donald Trump. So they're saying, hey, you don't come forward about what you know about Trump, we'll give you a more comfortable prison, maybe an eventual pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. And this is not just that man. There's others. Even an ex-BOP official, which is Bureau of Prisons, said that her transfer to this cushy prison camp is a travesty of justice. And, more and more information just keeps coming out. And Michael Wolff, who we talked about a lot on this channel, he's one of Donald Trump's most well-known biographers. He's somebody who interviewed Epstein before he died, just came out with a new revelation surrounding Ghislaine Maxwell and Trump's fear that she can tie him into Epstein's crime. So take a look at what he had to say in a brand new interview with the Midas Touch Network.
Now, this is a key issue right now in the way the White House is looking at the Epstein scandal. The fear is that Ghislaine Maxwell can tie Donald Trump to the details of what Trump and Epstein called the Pussy Committee. The Pussy Committee consisted of Trump and Epstein in their efforts to get girls for Prince Andrew.
Wow. That kind of took me by surprise a little bit, I can't lie. But the fear is, according to Michael Wolff, again, interviewed Epstein before he died, writes about Donald Trump frequently, has a lot of sources on the inside, said the fear is that Ghislaine Maxwell can tie Trump to the details of what Trump and Epstein called the committee, leaving out an important word there. But all of this is to say that it seems like Ghislaine Maxwell has some information on Donald Trump. A lot of ex-cellmates, or this ex-cellmate, is saying that a lot of people know this. It was common knowledge among cellmates at this Tallahassee prison. And it appears to me, and I think any rational person, that this piece of information that we just got is part of the reason as to why Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to this low-level security camp. It is incredibly rare, incredibly uncommon for something like this to happen, but it did to somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell, who appears to have information on Donald Trump. So I just had to break down this article for you. It is insane. Insane. So I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure to drop a like on the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel. As I mentioned, it goes such an incredibly long way. But thank you so much for watching, and we will talk soon.